Hello and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide and another countdown video. In this video I'm going to be counting down my top 10 best dark rides. Now of course there's some amazing dark rides all across the world, and to put it down to just 10 has been incredibly hard, but I thought I don't want to do any more than that in this countdown, mainly because I've already got so much already to talk about with my top 10 favourite dark rides. So we're pretty much going to get straight into it. Now of course all of us out there have very different opinions on rides across the world. These are mine. They're all rides that I've experienced out there before as well. I'm not sort of counting down anything that I've not been on. These are my 10 best dark rides to share with you all. So loads to talk about in this video. Let's get started with in at number 10. First up then, and in 10th place, is Spaceship Earth, which is located within Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida in the USA. What an absolutely stunning dark ride. It stands there at the entrance to Epcot. It opened in 1982, and you look at the structure of it and you just think, wow. Even if there wasn't a dark ride inside there, you look at the building and it'd just be as impressive, to be honest. It's really nicely put together. The fact that there's an Omnimover ride in there that lasts for 15 minutes is even more incredible. So there's so many great reasons why this ride belongs in my top 10, but the fact that it's built within that structure is incredible. It's a true icon for not just Disney parks but theme parks around the world. So many people know about Spaceship Earth. With the ride itself, in terms of the queue line, it's nothing spectacular. It's just a cattle pen queue line outside, lots of switchbacks, and then you make your way into the station. And again, it's nothing that spectacular at all. It's a small station, but I really like that because you know your journey is about to start on this continuous Omnimover system. The throughput on that ride is crazy. They're not sort of separate ride vehicles. It just keeps flowing round, filling it up with people, and then up you go into the structure. And that's what makes it for me. It's not like this dark ride's built in a show building off to the side. It is there in the structure, and you go through these various different scenes, spiraling, making your way up to the top, and then of course you come back down towards the end of the ride, a little bit steeper and also backwards. But this ride, 15 minutes in length, it's a lot to go in there, and you might be thinking, if you've not been on it, what is it all about? Because the name doesn't give too much away. It sort of tells the story of human communication and how that helped create the future. So you start off by seeing like these projections of like the Ice Age, and go through the Egyptians and learning the alphabet, how that was all created, to some of the more modern technology like computers being made, and then you end up at the top of Spaceship Earth, and you can see Earth there in the distance as like a projection, all the stars in the roof. What also really makes it for me is the soundtrack. It's got a beautiful score throughout the whole attraction, a really nice narration telling you everything that's going on. And what really makes it as well from an audio point of view is the fact you've not just got audio which is actually coming from speakers behind you in your ride vehicle, you've also got all audio around as well, so it sounds very sort of 360, and that's what I like with Spaceship Earth. Some of the scenes are huge in there as well, and you wouldn't think so for the building. I know it's a huge structure, but with how much is packed in there, you'd think that the scenes would be quite small, but not at all. But there's nothing else like it when you make it up to the top and the score kicks in and you're looking up at all the stars. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then your time machine vehicle actually spins round. You then make your way back down backwards, and you've got like a little screen which is all interactive. But I say all of this, the ride is actually going to be closing in 2020 for refurbishment. The ride's going to stay similar, but there's going to be some more modern updates and some changes to the audio, the narration, some of the set pieces. So I do look forward to seeing what they're doing. However, I'm really hoping that they don't ruin what it is, a beautiful attraction. I love Spaceship Earth. Of course, Epcot's having a huge sort of reimagining at the moment, so it'd be interesting to see how it fits in when all of that's complete. But there you go, in 10th place of my top 10 best dark rides, Spaceship Earth at Epcot. In 9th place is Radiator Springs Racers, which is located at Disney California Adventure, which is of course in California in the United States of America. This ride and the overall area is incredible. It opened in 2012 and is all based on the Cars films. It was part of a huge expansion of Disney California Adventure, and they did an incredible job. I love the Cars films, so actually stepping into that area for the first time, I was blown away, and that was without seeing Radiator Springs Racers. Just seeing the area, there's some other attractions in there, there's shops, all sorts you can walk into and really immerse yourself in the world of Cars. And then you make your way down to the end, and then you see the entrance to Radiator Springs Racers. All the queue line looks out over this beautiful rock work, all of Ornament Valley, and it looks absolutely incredible what they've done with that. And then you step into the station area, which is half outside, half inside really, and that's a bit like this dark ride. So I would class it as a dark ride because it's mostly got indoor scenes with an outdoor section as well. But you know, it's one of those, isn't it? There's so much that has gone into this ride, both inside and outside, that it comes together as an absolutely incredible overall experience. The ride itself is only just over 4 minutes in length, so it is quite short, but it doesn't feel it when you're on the ride. So you step on board a car, they're all different colours, put your seatbelt on like you're in a real car, and then make your way through an outdoor scene, and then you go under this bridge, which is amazing because you've got the waterfall there, all of the rocks around the side of Ornament Valley, and then you're inside for the main portion of the dark ride. You've got the truck that comes right towards you, you've got cars lifting up, you've got the sound of like a railway track in there, just the overall feel of it, and the animatronics are incredible in there as well. They use like back projections, which is really clever on the cars, so they are talking, you know, and these aren't done on screens. This is real live action set pieces in front of you, and it's incredible how they've done it. One of my favourite scenes inside the ride is you sort of turn the corner, you go through like this bit of a forest, you turn the corner and you've got all the buildings at either side of you with all the lights, and it's always nighttime sort of inside there as well, so it's got that really nice feel, a very nice ambience to it all, and just the overall package of it in there is incredible. Now at this point, the cars actually go, one goes off to the left, one goes off to the right, and then you meet after that scene for the race. So you've got two different scenes that you can go into, which makes it really re-rideable. You've got one option, which is to go in for a complete new coat of paint, and then the other option is a change of tyre, and you've got different effects for them. The car lifts up a little bit, you've got an animatronic that pops up. You then go past like the sheriff and get ready for the race. So all of the ride, you know, you're on a single track, but then you go into that scene, two cars can then split off onto two tracks, and then you go round the rest of the ride and interact with the other one. It's a brilliant ride system, it really is. I'll be talking more about that ride system later on with another one of my favourite dark rides. But yeah, the overall package of it, Ornament Valley steals the show, and then towards the end of the ride, some more animatronics, all of the lovely like crystals with all the lighting in there. It's incredible how they've put it together, and it definitely deserves to be there in 9th place. That's Radiator Springs Racers at Disney California Adventure. In 8th place, it's Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at Universal Islands of Adventure. An absolutely incredible dark ride. It had to be in there in my top 10 list. This uses a motion-based system with robotic arms, so it's really well put together. Now, this is the original version of the ride at Islands of Adventure that opened in 2010. However, there's two other versions of the ride, one at Universal Studios Hollywood, another at Universal Studios Japan. I've actually done the Hollywood version, and I do actually really enjoy that. I'd say the ride section of that is probably a little bit better than the version in Florida. However, the reason why this has come into my top 10 and not the version in California is because of the overall package. It's just so much better in terms of the queue line and the overall look of it from outside as well. So that's why this version of the ride, and it being the original, sits there for me in my top 10 countdown. They're also going to be building a version in Beijing at the new Universal Park, which is set to open in 2021, so next year for that. So with this, of course, you've got Hogwarts, which is right at the front of this show building. However, that isn't really much of the show building. You look at it on like Google Maps, it shows you the size of it. It's a massive show building, and Hogwarts is just small on the front of that. But honestly, you look up at that in the area and think, blimey, it's huge, but that's only a tiny part of the show building. This robo-arm system is incredible, and I'd love to see more of it used out there. It just costs a fortune to build. Now, when you enter the queue line, you start off outside, you go through all like conservatories, make your way into Hogwarts, when you've got various different rooms that you go through as part of the queue line. There's some moving portraits in some of the rooms that are really, really nicely done. Like the ride restrictions are all done on like a moving portrait. It's just like a TV screen, but it's been painted over and it looks very authentic. So yeah, any fans of Harry Potter out there, I really enjoy it. Charlotte is a die-hard Harry Potter fan, so she loved seeing it for the first time. But going through all these rooms, it's so recognisable recognizable from the films, and of course if you read the books as well, you sort of look at things and think, oh, you know, that relates to this. You go towards the sorting hat, and then he actually tells you some information about the ride and more restrictions, and then you board onto your robo arm. It's a very fast moving station. There's all mirrors around the room, candles hanging up. It's got a very nice ambience. And then you make your way along, you pull down on your over the shoulder restraints that it's got. You know, it's not just a lap bar, it's an over the shoulder for this. And then you can find with you and 3 other people, you've got like all audio in there, wind effects, you know, all built into that, which adds to it. Having the onboard audio actually coming from behind you and at the side is a really nice feature of that. And then a spell happens, you're lifted up, and you go through various different scenes. You start off in like the observatory area, and then you head outside into like a Quidditch game, which is really cool. It's a mix between physical theming and set pieces, and also screens in here as well. So you've got like 3 lots of things going on. So you've got a lot of big set pieces, some various different scenes, but then the screens as well. And it's so well done. Like if you look at behind the scenes stuff, how it works, you know, you move on to this system and the screen actually rotates with you attached to it. It's all very complicated, but amazingly designed. Of course, you then go into some of my favourite scenes of the ride, which is a dragon that's actually there in front of you, and it's got like all a special effect of smoke and mist on there. You then head into the Forbidden Forest, and from that point, you see Aragog, which is the big spider, who's there right in front of you. Not on a screen, it's an actual set piece in front of you. Along with that, you've got the Dementors, the Whomping Willow that you actually go right onto your back and look up at it into the ceiling. And then, of course, towards the end of the ride where you sort of all make it back to the Great Hall, everyone's clapping, and it's got a really nice ambience to it. But yeah, it's a great mixture of scenes and set pieces and screens. You know, it all comes together really, really well. And I think Universal Creative did a fantastic job with that. I can't believe it's actually 10 years old now. 2010 it opened, it's crazy. But there you go, in at 8th place, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Incredible. Na 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 na. In at 7th place is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. That was a bad impression, wasn't it? But I tried for you guys. So here we go. This is an absolutely incredible dark ride that's located within Disney's Hollywood Studios at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, also in the United States of America. This is a beautiful ride. It's so nicely put together, and the overall story of it, all based around the Twilight Zone TV series, and how they've put it all in there is incredible. Now, this isn't the only version of the ride. Of course, there's also 2 others out there as well, one in Paris and one also at Tokyo Disney Sea. However, that's got a bit of a different theme, and that's not actually based on the Twilight Zone. There was a version in Hollywood at Disney's California Adventure. However, unfortunately, that was rethemed into Guardians of the Galaxy, and I do miss it very much, but that's a complete other video as well. This is a brilliant ride. This is the original that opened in 1994 in this wonderful themed area. You walk down towards it, you've got all the palm trees, the buildings, all part of the build-up. Enter the queue line, and you've got that wonderful music all playing, very atmospheric. You've got like a mist through all the bushes, and then you make your way round into the first scene of the sort of experience, if you like, the hotel lobby, and you're in there. You've got like the little reception desk. You've got like a game of cards going on at the side. It's beautiful. You've got this statue down at the end. HTH sort of outlines everything in there. The Hollywood Tower Hotel all builds you up, and then you're sort of sent into a library, which is like your pre-show. Goes through a little bit of story on the TV screen. There's a lightning bolt and strobe lights and special effects before you're led into the boiler room. And I really like the boiler room. That's one of my favourite parts of the experience. It's different on the other versions of the ride, but yeah, what they've done with this is great. Like all sorts of like pipe work all the way around. A lot of like atmospheric sound effects and lighting, like it's all, you know, going a bit wrong, all the electrics and stuff. Love that build up, and it really puts you in this like quite worried state, thinking, what is going to happen to me on this ride? Even if you know what's coming, everybody riding it is so either scared or very excited about what's about to happen. And of course, you get ready to go into the service elevator. The main lifts are broke, you're going into the service elevator, and you go into this, and of course it moves up and down. But what's special about this version of the ride, and why it makes it in to my top 10 above the others, is mainly because of the way that this is like a ride system that can move forward as well. The other versions of the ride don't do this. With this version, it actually moves forward into its own scene, the fifth dimension. You've got like all sorts going on at the side, and then you actually make your way in to the drop shaft itself, which takes you up and down inside this drop shaft. And the other versions don't have that fifth dimension scene in that way, you know, the way it's been done. You're kind of in the shaft already, whereas with this you move forward into it and you're like, oh blimey, you know, I wasn't expecting that. So that's incredible. When you get into the drop shaft, it's all about the airtime, up and down, and it's just so well put together with the storyline. Everybody's screaming in there and the sound like a spanner and it's all like falling on the floor. You know, them sound effects are things going wrong because that's what we like. And we went on it, you know, and I just absolutely loved it first time doing it. So, and it sticks there right for me every time I ride it. Go back to Florida all the time, and I really enjoy going on the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. The original is by far the superior. As much as I enjoyed the version at Tokyo Disney Sea, the actual ride system lets it down a bit because it's not as intense. As much as the story and some of the theming's a lot better, the ride system on the original is just top class. It's more intense, and also the fact as well, your seatbelt only comes over your waist, whereas on the version at Tokyo Disney Sea, it's actually got a seatbelt that comes over here that restricts you a bit for the airtime. But there you go, 7th place, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Disney's Hollywood Studios. In 6th place, it's Indiana Jones Adventure, Temple of the Forbidden Eye, which is located at Disneyland in California in the United States of America. This ride, I was absolutely blown away when I went on it for the first time, and honestly, the overall experience of this is incredible. Of course, it's all based on the Indiana Jones films, but what they've done in there is just stunning with the ride system, even the queue line to start it all, and just the overall package of the ride. Now, it opened in 1995. There's another one that got built in 2001 at Tokyo Disney Sea. However, this is the better version of the two, in my opinion, and that's why it makes it into the top 10 countdown. The reason behind that is mainly due to the queue line. When they built this ride, it was actually built on an old parking lot outside of the normal boundary of Disneyland. So they had to build a way of you getting from inside the main park to the parking lot where they built the show building. So you go down this massive queue line that's full of all sorts of theming, like little temples and all sorts of effects and stuff down there. Unfortunately, there's a few bits that aren't working, but it is closing at some point this year for a bit of an overhaul. So I look forward to hopefully seeing what they do with that at some point in the near future. But yes, this is definitely the best version of the two, in my opinion. And yeah, it's the queue line, you know, builds you up. You go into this little waiting area where you watch a pre-show, Eye on the Globe. It's like a news report about what's happening, and also as well gives you your ride restrictions in a themed way. I like it when rides do that, all in a themed way. It's like the Sorting Hat with Forbidden Journey, you know, it's all part of the experience. And then you board onto this motion vehicle, which is incredible. It's one of my favourite ever ride systems out there, and we've seen it used with a few other rides around the world as well. But the enhanced motion vehicle is what it's technically known as. It's all themed around like a military transport vehicle, like all brown, and you've got a steering wheel on the front, which is cool if you get in that seat. And then you head on there and into the experience. You start off in like the Chamber of Destiny, and this room used to like spin. So there's one door that you always went through, but you know, it looked like there was multiple different options, and it had sort of changed round. But that doesn't happen anymore. It's done by projections. But you never know, with the work they're going to be doing, they may try and bring that room back, and the way that you used to go through these different ones, or it looked like you were going through different ones anyway. But still, you go through that, it's still very impressive. Make your way around this first scene, you see a little animatronic of Indiana Jones at the side, turn the corner, and the onboard soundtrack makes it. You go round, it's so dramatic, and then you look out, and of course you can see Mara, this statue in the distance. You've got the fire effects going on there, you've got this big rope bridge, but you don't head straight to that. You go into some of the smaller areas first to build up the atmosphere. And the good thing about the enhanced motion vehicle, what it can do is as it's going round, you imagine that the wheels are always on the floor here, but it can go like this, you know, so you're having a bumpy ride, and the ride track itself doesn't look bumpy, you know, it just looks quite smooth, but because of the ride vehicle, it can do all of this. It's really nicely designed. That's another video waiting to happen as well, talking about that, like brilliant. But yeah, the way it's done there, you go over this rope bridge, all like lava underneath, the fire's going off, Mara's there shining down at you. You head round to this other area where you've got like all snakes on the walls, a giant cobra that looks down on you. You then head into like the cave with Mara, and you see it at the side, and then you try and escape out of there, and you think that it's all over. Indiana Jones is there, and you think, oh, everything's fine. and then this huge bowl there just comes down towards you, and blimey, it's so well done. You might be thinking, how's that effect put together? Those of you in the know will know how incredible that is. Basically, you know, the room all moves towards you. It's not sort of, the bowl is not really there. It's all sort of coming round on a bit fastened to the room. So it's so well done that the way the effects are in that ride. And then you make your way towards the end. You see the boulder in Indiana Jones. Everything's okay. And then you make your way down the longest exit of a ride in the world. But it adds to the experience. Back out next to this little temple, Jungle Cruise off to the side. It's gorgeous. 6th place, Indiana Jones Adventure. What a ride at Disneyland. So we're halfway there. In 5th place, it's Mystic Manor, which is located at Hong Kong Disneyland, which, believe it or not, is in Hong Kong. This trackless dark ride opened in 2013 and is absolutely gorgeous. A beautiful overall experience. It starts off outside by looking at this very majestic style building, really nicely put together, very different to the Haunted Mansion attractions that you'd find at the other Disney parks. You know, the way that this put together is completely different with the storyline, all based on Lord Henry Mystic. What a very majestic sounding name. And his little monkey called Albert. So having recently acquired an enchanted music box, Albert opens this box and brings everything inside the house to life. So you can kind of see where this is going. You've got this cheeky little monkey that's a very, very cute character. You know, they sell all the merchandise for him. Of course, it's Disney, you know, exit into the gift shop. But the way they've done it and brought this character in is great, and I love it. It's all because of the Chinese culture and how it's all very different with it all over there. You know, they decided to not go down the normal Haunted Mansion route and do this little monkey that's, you know, going around the house and being a bit mischievous. So with that, you go through these various different rooms with all sorts of special effects going on. And with it being a trackless ride, of course, you've got various different vehicles that interact and move around with each other. You've got to go on it a few times to get the different experiences really with this one. But one of my favourite rooms out there is the music room, and just how it comes to life. All these instruments, you've got like a pipe organ at the side. It all comes together really nicely, and you're going around with a really nice soundtrack and a narration throughout this, and Albert's sort of causing a lot of mischief. It's a fun ride, but it's also a little bit spooky. You know, it's not too spooky, it's more mysterious, you know. But yeah, the way that they've put Mystic Manor together is incredible. It ends with this room with all like projections, and the wall all comes away, you know, and it's really nicely done, and then it kind of everything just goes back to normal. And yeah, there's some really nice special effects. They actually project onto like these curtains that lower down from the ceiling. You wouldn't know there were curtains, but that's just like how it works, because I've looked into this stuff because I find it fascinating. And they project like little particles onto it, which adds this like mass sort of magic layer like throughout. Like it masks it on. It's very, very well put together. But yeah, and that just makes it a beautifully overall package experience. The exterior, the queue line, the soundtrack, the fact it's got a very cute little character all about it, and Lord Henry Mystic, you know, it's just nicely put together. Beautiful ride, and that's Mystic Manor at Hong Kong Disneyland. Halfway there in at number 5. Gorgeous attraction. Coming in at 4th place, it's Pirates of the Caribbean, Battle for the Sunken Treasure, which is located at Shanghai Disneyland in China. This ride is completely different to anything you'd expect from the Pirates of the Caribbean rides out there at the other Disney parks. Don't get me wrong, I love the original version of Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland. I think it's an incredible experience with so many set pieces, and the overall package of that is great. But what they've done with Battle for the Sunken Treasure is completely out of this world. A very modern ride system, and it's like magnetic powered boats what go around on this track basically, instead of it being in your normal standard trough. And the boats can spin round into the different scenes. Yeah, they can spin all sorts of different directions, and that's what really makes it. Of course, based on the very, very popular Pirates of the Caribbean films and how it's all been put together with this, with Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones in there. Of course, everybody knows the history about Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, the ride came first at Disneyland, the films came after, but this is actually based, you know, directly off the films with Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow and everything with the storyline of this. So it starts in like a navy fortress fortress style station building, and you make your way forward on these huge boats, but the atmosphere's already been built up. Of course, this is Disney, you know, the exterior is great, the queue line, lots of little details, but you're in this Navy fortress on this huge boat making your way forward, and you sail past this restaurant, and that's all heavily themed, and that's something they've took from the other Disney parks. You know, that interaction between the two things is really, really nicely put together. You make your way through into this cave, and then go into like the graveyard of lost ships, and this is my favourite scene actually in the whole ride. It's like an underwater scene, and they've done it with lighting and changes of the very, like the ambience in there. You know, it's just very, very well put together. And you've got these huge galleon boats all the way around the side, all sorts of different ships and stuff to look at. And it's incredible. Like, I've never known anything like it, the way that they've done it. You actually feel like you're underwater. I felt like I needed to have like scuba diving gear on or something to be in there. Like, it was just so well done. And then you go into like a big sea battle. And with this ride, it is a mix of set pieces and screens, which is different for the Pirates of the Caribbean rides, don't get me wrong, but so well done. You come round into this battle, you got like two boats on either side, boats coming towards you on screens in the distance, but you've got the real water in the ride, and then that merges in with the fake water on the screen. So well done. Like, honestly, it's really hard to tell the difference with it all, how they've put it together. And you've got like this mix of theming and screens that carries on. You actually head sideways into this boat and backwards, down a drop. And yeah, the package of this is great. The onboard audio makes it as well. Quite an atmospheric Pirates of the Caribbean style score, but they've sort of umped it all up a bit, you know, to make it sound even better. But yeah, you make your way towards the end of the ride, and you just want to clap at the end because it is such an amazing experience. I remember riding it for the first time and thinking, blimey, what an incredible ride. It was worth going to China just for that ride alone, without seeing Tron and everything else that made Shanghai Disneyland great. Just seeing that was incredible. But there you go, 4th place, Pirates of the Caribbean, Battle for the Sunken Treasure. What an absolutely awesome version of Pirates of the Caribbean. So we're down to the final 3, and in 3rd place it's Journey to the Center of the Earth at Tokyo Disney Sea in Japan. This ride is absolutely amazing, and the overall package of walking into that area, I remember going in there for the first time and thinking, this is absolutely outstanding. I'd never been immersed so much in a themed area as this at the time. I thought it was incredible, and that was before even entering the queue line and getting onto the ride itself. It originally opened in 2001 along with the rest of Tokyo Disney Sea. It was an opening day attraction for the park, and this whole area is all based around Jules Verne, and of course Journey to the Center of the Earth. There's another dark ride next door, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That's also fantastic. But there's something about Journey to the Center of the Earth that really just takes it to another level, and the overall experience that's created on that ride is incredible. It's got a beautiful queue line all in rocks, you know, and it's got like a rumble sort of soundtrack in the background, like a lot of machinery and a lot of works going on all around there, quite an industrial sort of feel. And then you make your way into like a pre-show, which is that like a Terravator, I think it's called, it's like the version of an elevator what takes you down under the ground into the station area. Of course, you're not actually going underground at all. It's all part of the overall theming, but you know, it's supposed to be that you're going underground and you get into the station, and it's got such an atmosphere in there, this industrial feel, all the rocks, some really nice lighting and stuff in there. It's just got an amazing atmosphere. And again, you've had all that build up from the area, the queue line, the pre-show and the station, and you're not even actually on the ride vehicle yet. It's crazy. In terms of the ride system itself, it was all based off Test Track that was built at Epcot. Following on from that, another ride that I've already mentioned in my top 10, of course, Radiator Springs Racers. That was the 3rd sort of version, so to speak, of this ride system being used by Disney, and it's a brilliant ride system, how it all works. And yeah, of course, you step on board this ride vehicle and off you go on your journey into the center of the earth, quite literally. It starts off, you go through all these different tunnels, and you've got like all crystals, a mushroom forest there is there, and various different creatures that you come across as well in various different forms all the way around the ride. So that all really adds to it. And at that point, there's an earthquake, and that causes like the tunnel that you're going in to collapse, meaning that the route has got to be changed. you know, you've got to go a different way. And from that point, the soundtrack changes, you know, and there's a bit more pressure on thinking, oh, blimey, you know, are we going to get out of here sort of thing. And then you go down this new route, and then you're forced basically into the fiery sort of heart of this big volcano, Mount Prometheus. That is the icon for the park. You know, when you walk into that park, you see Prometheus at the bottom, and that's your signature ride. It is the ride of Tokyo Disney Sea, in my opinion. Other people may disagree, but likewise, you know, with all of these rides, they're my opinions on what I think to them, and they're my best dark rides, you know. But with Journey, that sort of feeling of going into that volcano at the end, it's quite a scary experience. And then, of course, you've got a huge animatronic in there as well, a lava monster is known as, and that's incredible. But it's special effects like fire, mist, smoke effects in there. The fact that it's actually built into this volcano is incredible. I mean, they've put the show building in, and then they've built this volcano on top of it. Like, I've never seen anything like it before. It's incredible. And the fact that that was built in 2001, that's years and years before we had a lot more of these other immersive areas like Pandora, the world of Avatar, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. You know, Disney keep topping themselves, but you look at what they did in 2001 with that ride. Absolutely incredible. The ride section itself isn't the longest out there. In fact, it's one of the shorter Disney dark rides, but it's what happens on that experience that really makes it, and it deserves to be there in third place. Journey to the Center of the Earth at Tokyo Disney Sea. An incredible ride, the ride system, the theming, and that whole Jules Verne feel that I really, really like. And yeah, just the overall package of it, again, is incredible. But there we go. We are down to the final two. It's time to find out what's in second place of my top 10 best dark rides. Just missing out on the top spot then, and in second place is the absolutely gorgeous Symbolic Air at Efteling in the Netherlands. This is a trackless dark ride that opened at the park in 2017. And when I first stepped on board Symbolic Air, I absolutely fell in love with it. It went straight to the top at the time of my favourite dark rides, and it's right up there now. That's the thing with these top 10s. You know, everything's just so close to each other, especially even more so with the dark rides here. Some of these are so close to each other. It was so hard to put them in an order, but I had to make this video, you know, but it was hard to do that. But yeah, Symbolic Air, this ride, it's a trackless dark ride, and let's talk about the exterior first. I mean, you look at this beautiful palace, the Palace of Fantasy, that looks amazing in Efteling. You walk down the street towards it, it's a gorgeous building. The queue line outside hasn't got much going on, but when you get inside, you enter this wonderful pre-show that's amazing. It's got 2 audio animatronics in there, including Pardoos, which is the park mascot, who takes you on this tour around the Palace of Fantasy. And before that, he opens up the doorway, which is hidden behind this staircase, and the stairs open up in front of you. There's all these mist effects and magical sound effects, and then the gates open and you head downstairs towards the area where you actually pick if you want to go on one of 3 different tours. You know, and that's a really nice feel about this, because as much as quite a lot of the ride is the same no matter which tour you're on, in terms of the scenes, of course your positioning in those scenes is different, but the theming's the same. You just see it slightly different. There is a scene in the ride for each of those different 3 rides that is actually very different. So to be honest, to get the full Symbolic Air experience, you need to ride it 3 times to really see that and get the whole sequencing of it. But what they've done with that is absolutely stunning, and you know, some of my favourite scenes in the ride. There's so much to talk about. I could do a video just on Symbolic Air, much like I could all of these dark rides in my top 10, to be honest. But the observatory scene is a really nice way that sort of starts off the ride. You know, it's the first major scene. You know, you head out of the sort of loading area, down this corridor into this observatory, and you've got the wizard in there. You've got Pardoos shaking his magic wand, you know, and all the lighting effects in there. Stunning. You've got like all bookshelves and stuff all around the top. It's such a nice room, like all the ambience in there. You carry on down the corridor a little bit, and then you're into like the panorama salon, where you sort of head out onto a little balcony and look out over all these buildings. It's stunning. It really is like a nighttime sort of feel there. The Botanicum is another great area. You've got this huge whale that everybody at first thought it was like a screen, but no, it's an actual set piece that they've got there behind this wall. And it's this whale what comes down. It is incredible. All the glass starts to crack, all done by special effects. And then real water is dropping in, and you actually feel it on your head sometimes, like dropping down the water. Not much, but just a little bit. That really adds to the experience. And then, of course, you've got to talk about the way that the ride splits off, you know, into them 3 different areas. You've got the Treasures Tour, the Heroes Tour, and the Music Tour. They've all got their own sort of part of that. That really makes it, and they're all really good fun. You know, I like the music tour with all the sound effects and stuff. You got a little screen to interact with that as well. The Treasures Tour, that's quite a sort of magical experience, that one, very vibrant with all the lighting and mirrors. And the Heroes Tour as well, you know, there's got quite a lot of movement going on with that. But no matter which tour you take on Symbolica, it's a magical, overall, enjoyable experience that is stunning. You then head into the finale of the ride, which is like the Royal Hall. Lots of food all out there on the table, and animatronics actually dancing with you. With it being a trackless ride, you know, you're moving around and you've got these sort of statues in the middle that are sort of dancing around as well. All lighting and curtains in the ceiling. Very grand, very majestic feel to it all. And then it wraps up. You know, what a lovely ride Symbolica is. And the fact that, you know, it cost 35 million euros, that ride, like, which is not a lot compared to a lot of the other dark rides we've mentioned in this whole video. You know, that's nothing in comparison. So what they got was amazing value for money. All the ceilings are themed and all the floors are themed, and that's why I take it high up in my list here. You know, there's been some incredible dark rides, but with Symbolica they really thought about the floor and the roof, and I've said this before in the vlogs on the channel, but they're some of the first things I look at, like the floor and the ceiling, just to see how immersive it is, the full package, and that's what Symbolica has. So there we go. It's my #1 dark ride for a good few years. It has been topped by something now, quite recently actually, as you're about to find out now, as I reveal, as of 2020, my #1 dark ride. So as you've clearly seen in this video, in my opinion, Disney builds some of the best dark rides out there in the world. And you can see it throughout my top 10. There is a lot of Disney parks rides in there. And of course, my #1 dark ride is also a Disney dark ride, and quite a new one actually. In fact, it's one of their most advanced projects they have ever built from Walt Disney Imagineering. It's Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, in first place in my top 10 best dark rides. And this is the version that I've experienced, which is at Disneyland in California in the United States of America. It opened there in January this year. I was actually there for the opening day. However, another version of the ride opened at Walt Disney World in Disney's Hollywood Studios just a few weeks before, in December 2019. So I've not experienced that version yet. I've been to Galaxy's Edge there, but I've not experienced Rise of the Resistance because it wasn't open yet. So yeah, my first one to experience was at Disneyland, so that's what this review is based off. Wow, where do you even start with this ride? The length of it, the quality, the amount of different rides that have been put into one in this overall experience is absolutely incredible. There's still so many questions and not enough answers for me with this ride in terms of how all the technology pulls together and how it works, but I'm going to try my best to sort of go through the best part of it. So like I said, the ride opened in January 2020 at Disneyland, and it's a combination of various different things. There's a trackless dark ride, a walk-through attraction, a motion simulator, and a drop ride system all in one. And this overall experience is about an 18-minute overall experience with Rise of the Resistance. Of course, all based on Star Wars. However, when they built this and Galaxy's Edge, it was kind of, they created their own immersive themed area. It wasn't necessarily based off the films. And I really like that because, you know, Star Wars, I'm not a Star Wars fan at all. You know, it's just not something that I watch, you know, that much of. I have seen a few of the films, but not many. So it shows with the power of this ride, you don't need to be a Star Wars fan to enjoy it. Likewise with some of the others, you know, you don't need to be a Cars fan to enjoy Radiator Springs Racers. Same with Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. You don't need to like Harry Potter. If you appreciate themed experiences and rides, then you're going to enjoy all of those. But what they've done with Rise of the Resistance is amazing. It starts off with the fact that the show building, you can't even see it. It's all hidden in the rock work, and you make your way down through a queue line that starts in all trees. You go past a little waterfall, and then inside all these different tunnels, and you know, it's all, you know, quite rocks all around the side and stuff in this queue line. Lots of like artifacts and different things to look at, which I really like. You then enter into the first part of where your 18-minute experience actually starts, and that's in like the Resistance Control Center. You got BB-8 in there as an animatronic that comes out. You've got Rey, that's like a hologram in there. Air that's really well done. And some other characters that appear as well and tell you a little bit about what you're going to be experiencing and a bit about the backstory. At that point on a normal ride, you've had your pre-show, now you'd be onto the main ride. Not with Rise of the Resistance. You then head outside, which of course varies the experience in the daytime and at night. You head out, you got like an X-Wing at the side, some other various spaceships, and then you load onto this transporter ship, which is like a motion simulator. And then with that, you actually get on board it and it moves like a motion simulator. You're on it for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. You've got an animatronic at the front, screens all the way round, and it transports you, you know, at the start of the experience. I mean, how awesome is that? How different? And a lot of people, I think, thought that that was the main part of the ride. And if it was, people would not have been disappointed because it was incredible. But you then come off that after about 4 minutes, you know, and you go back out of the door what you came in, and you're not outside anymore. You're inside this humongous room with loads of stormtroopers looking towards you. Their heads are all turning and you think, oh my God. And you walk forward into this room. You're not sort of rushed through it. You walk into this room, you've got stormtroopers all looking towards you. And then you carry on down a little corridor before going into another sort of pre-show, if you like, before you then get onto the main event. So you've had all of that and you're not even at the main event yet, which is a trackless dark ride that honestly, it's absolutely outstanding. You've got an animatronic on the front, various different onboard sound effects all the way around, 360, and you're making your way around in this huge battle, you know, with the Resistance, and the way that it's put together is stunning. I mean, again, I could do a full video talking about it. I'm sure I will do at some point, but what they've done with special effects in that ride is incredible. Some of my favorites, I mean, I can't use this video to sort of talk over the whole experience of the ride because I've just not got enough time for it, but it needs to be another video for that. But in general, some of my favourite parts of it are the fact you've got a wonderful scene that's great. Of course, you've got a lightsaber that gets put through the ceiling, and that's really well done because you actually see it actually come through like it's being jabbed into the roof. Like, that's a really cool effect. Love that. And then towards the end of the ride, where you've got an animatronic in front of you and all the walls just start coming down and blocking the animatronic and he starts to wobble. Like, I think that is incredible the way that's done. And then if that's not enough, you've got a drop section on there as well. So that feeling like you get, for example, on 13 at Alton Towers with like a drop track, or Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure with the drop track. You get that, but not on a roller coaster. You're on a dark ride. You know, you go into these escape pods and you see them on the screen in front of you drop other ones. And you're seeing that and thinking, that's going to happen to us, but you don't have quite the time to process it. And then you drop. And I don't really know how far you drop. I guess maybe 15 feet, 20 feet, something like that. But you drop, and then that's like the big finale of the ride, and then you reverse out of it, and then the ride actually ends outside under a little shelter. But it's amazing. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, you know, like I said, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I absolutely loved that ride. The way it's put together, the technology is incredible. But there you go. I do hope you've enjoyed my top 10 best dark rides in the world. There's been some amazing contenders, and like I say, you know, there's not like massive gaps in between all of these. They're so close. Some of them are maybe even on par. You know, it's just so hard to put a top 10 together and decide. But like I say, you know, some people say I should have done a top 25 with this. However, you got to think the video's been quite long already. I like to go into more detail. I don't just like to do these top 10s and say, here's the ride, that's what it does, that's where it's located, on to the next. I like to give it more of a personal touch and share my opinions and my thoughts on it. So that's why I'll be sticking mostly to top 10s in these countdowns. Not with all of them, but with some of them. But there we go. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, solid #1 dark ride. Get out there and experience it. But likewise, all of these have got to be amazing to be in my top 10. I've been on hundreds of dark rides now, and there's some that I really wanted to put into this list, but they just couldn't quite make it in there because of some of the other rides that were there. You know, there's some beautiful dark rides. I'm one of them people that, you know, I'd probably take a dark ride over a roller coaster a lot of the time. If you've got a really unique dark ride, and then just a coaster, I've done a similar version of it before, and I could only ride one of them, I'd probably go for the dark ride. So I just love the overall experience of it. And let me know your thoughts on the list down below. How many of them have you experienced? Comment down below in this video. And if you've not been on them all, which one would you like to go and experience the most? Let me know. I do read all the comments here on Theme Park Worldwide, and I would love to see. And I'll be back again soon with another top 10 countdown here on Theme Park Worldwide. A few weeks ago, I counted down my top 10 water rides, so check that one out here on the channel. I'm Sean Sandbrook. Thank you very much for joining me for another countdown video, and that means it's time to cue those credits. See you all in the next video.